Chapter 6. It was Cincinnati chili night. Mom liked to have themed dinners every so often, and lately she's been on a geographic kick. Spicy New Orleans jambalaya one week, thick New England clam chowder the next, authentic, she said, Mexican hot tamales the next. At least Cincinnati chili was fairly normal, though Jonah failed to see the point of putting chili on top of spaghetti when ragu worked just as well. Do you think? He started to say, but everyone was passing around the containers of shredded cheese and chopped onions, and no one seemed to hear him. A few minutes later, while Catherine was chewing and actually had her mouth shut for once, he tried again. You know how you always said that if Catherine finished chewing. Oh, I almost forgot, she exploded. Guess who says she's trying out for cheerleader next year? Do you mind? Jonah asked. I was talking first. Catherine took a gulp of milk. Okay, okay, go on, she said. But hurry up, because this is really funny. All right, Jonah said with an injured dignity. What I was saying was, I mean, he swallowed hard. Would you just spit it out? Catherine demanded. Jonah glared at his sister. He could hear Chip's questioning echoing in his head. Have you ever tried to get your questions answered? What was the name of the adoption agency where got me? He blurted. For a moment, it felt like he'd thrown a grenade out in the middle of the table. Even Catherine was speechless for once. Then Mom smiled. We've told you that before, but I guess you forgot, she said. It was called Hope for Children. Awfully, I know, but it felt right to us then because we had so much hope, and that was all we had until. Okay, Jonah said quickly, because he could tell she was about to launch into the miracle story. We call out of the blue the week before Christmas. Everything we wanted. He didn't have the patience for that right now. Not when he had so much to think about. Hope for Children was a stupid name, but he was relieved, somehow, that it wasn't the Happy Family Adoption Agency, the same one that Chip's family had dealt with. This made the matching letters about being one of the missing seem more like a coincidence, more like an ordinary seventh grade prank. Dad was wiping his mouth with his napkin. Was there anything else you wanted to know, Jonah? He asked in a voice that was trying way too hard to sound casual. It was almost as bad as the time Dan had said on one fishing trip, you can ask me anything you want about puberty. Um, Jonah couldn't decide. Can we talk about something that isn't ancient history? Catherine interrupted. Catherine, wait your turn, Mom said. Jonah? Across the table, Catherine crossed her eyes and stuck out her tongue. Jonah looked down at his plate. Well, I kind of wondered, now that I'm older, if there's any more information they could give us about, my birth parents, Jonah said. I mean, not that it really matters. I'm just curious, like, did either of them have dimples like me? Dimples, Catherine snorted. Mom shot her one of those looks that said, as clear as day, if I hear one more word out of you, young lady, before you have permission to speak, I will cover your mouth with duct tape for the rest of the night. Of course, Mom had never done anything like that, but her looks always made you believe that she might. Dad very, very carefully laid his fork on his plate. I can certainly call the agency and see if there's any more information available, he said. But I have to warn you, it's not likely. They weren't even willing to give us a medical history. Not that we minded, Mom added quickly. We were just happy to get you. Now Mom and Dad were both beaming at him. Stereo smiles. Jonah kicked Catherine under the table. Tell your stupid cheerleader story, he muttered. Later that night, while Jonah was sitting at his desk doing his social studies homework, Catherine shoved her way into his room. Don't do this, she said, standing dramatically in the doorway. What, social studies? Catherine cast a glance over her shoulder. She stepped aside and eased the door shut behind her. Then, almost cautiously for her, she sat down on the edge of his bed. No, you know, she said, the whole adopted kid search for identity thing. Jonah pressed his pencil down too hard on the sapiens part of Homo sapiens, and the lead snapped. He dropped the pencil and whirled around. What's it to you? He asked. Hey, I'm part of this family too, Catherine said. No duh, he thought about snarling. Of course you are. You're actually related by blood. You belong more than I do. But that wasn't a very Jonah thing to say. It was like all those cruel things Chip had been saying about his dad afternoon, that that were just Chip being mad and surely couldn't be true. He decided to stick with no duh as his best comeback. Catherine rolled her eyes. Look, she said, it makes them mental. Every time you bring up the adoption, or your birth parents, or anything like that, they start pussyfooting around and being so careful, like, now Jonah, she dropped her voice an octave, in a pretty decent imitation of Dan. I can certainly call the agency. We'll do anything we can. We could never want your adoption to impede your self-actualization. Whoa, where did Catherine learn a term like self-actualization? So what? Jonah said. And what's it? And why is it my fault? They're the ones who always bring up the story of how they got me. Blah blah blah. Call out of the blue. Blah blah blah. Blinding rainstorm the night we picked you up. Catherine giggled. Then she leaned forward, her eyes round and earnest. Yeah, but see, that's the past, she said. That's the beginning of the story of them having kids. It's their story with you. It's like them giving you Barbie stickers to get me potty trained, or telling about the time I threw up in Mom's purse. Jonas snorted, remembering. That had been funny. Catherine eyed him suspiciously. You haven't told anybody at school those stories, have you? She asked. No. Why would I? Who cares? Catherine nodded approvingly. You better not, she said. She glanced towards the door once more. When you start talking about wanting to know more about your birth parents, that's different. You know what they're doing down there right now, right? They're reading those books again. Jonah didn't have to ask which ones she meant. They're trying to figure out what they're supposed to say so you don't start acting out and using drugs and flunking out as your cry for help. Jonah realized that Catherine had probably been reading Raising the Well-Adjusted Adopted Child and Adoption Without Secrets, too. I'm not going to do any of that stuff, Jonah said. That's crazy. Yeah? Well, so is getting all worried about your birth parents. Because, Jonah, now she was leaning so far forward, she was only inches from falling off the bed. Your birth parents don't matter. You're Jonah. They could have dimples or they could have 3 eyes apiece and 6 fingers on each hand, and it doesn't change a thing about you. Jonah kind of thought that might be impossible. 12-fingered, 3-eyed parent having a 10-fingered, 2-eyed kid. But he wasn't sure. Genetics had never been a big interest for him. That's easy for you to say, he muttered in a huff. You can look in the mirror and know exactly where everything comes from. Eyes, brown like Mom's. Nose, ski slope like Dad's. I do not have a ski slope nose, Catherine protested. It's classical. She turned sideways as if modeling. Classical ski slope, maybe, Jonas said. It is not. Never mind. Catherine waved her hands in front of her face, like she was trying to erase the nose debate. This was a miracle. Catherine backing away from an argument. What I meant to say is that doesn't matter either. If you're going through some adolescent who am I phase, it's not because you're adopted. Everyone goes through that. I don't know who I am either. Jonah reached out and tapped her on the arm. Catherine Marie Skidmore, remember, he said, daughter of Michael and Linda, granddaughter of... No. Who am I really? Catherine interrupted. Like next year, we can try out for things. Do I want to be a cheerleader or a basketball player? Do I want people to think Catherine Skidmore, airhead, but what a hottie? Or Catherine Skidhead, what a jock? Jonah was torn. He wanted to tease. Regardless, LB, airhead, definitely not a hottie. But he also kind of wanted to offer some profound big brotherly advice along the lines of, Catherine, you idiot. It's what you are that matters, not what people think you are. He was saved from making a decision because someone knocked on his door just then. Both he and Catherine jumped guiltily. Is this a private party, or are adults allowed too? Mom called from the hallway. Catherine shot Jonah a glance that said, See, I told you they're acting mental. Jonah frowned back at her and called out, Come in, to his mother. Mom pushed open the door, but still stood there a little hesitantly. That Cincinnati chili took so long to make. chopping all those onions. I totally forgot. You got some mail today, Jonah, she said, holding out a white envelope. Jonah felt a nervous twitch in his stomach. Mom walked across the room and laid the envelope on his desk, beside his social studies book. Once again, there was no return address. It was just a plain, ordinary, unmarked letter addressed to Jonah. If that's an invitation to a birthday party or some other event you want to go to, let me know so I can put it on the calendar, Mom said, still in that unnatural, careful voice she used at dinner. Okay, I will, Jonah said. He made no move to open the letter. He didn't even touch it. He bent his head over his social studies book like the most dedicated student in the world. Look, Mom, I'm not in danger of flunking out. But he could feel Mom and Catherine both staring at him. He sighed. I'll look at it later, okay? I've really got to finish the social studies. We've got a test tomorrow, and I haven't even done the whole study sheet yet, Jonah hinted. Oh, all right. Come on, Catherine. We're being kicked out, Mom said. Jonah, let me know if you want any help reviewing later. Jonah waited until they were both gone, and the door was firmly latched. He picked up the envelope and went over to sit on the floor with his back pressed against the door, so he'd have some warning if anyone tried to come in. Carefully, he eased his finger under the flap of the envelope and gently lifted. He could tell even before he pulled the letter out that most of it was blank. He fumbled unfolding it, one edge of the paper getting stuck against the other side. And then it was open. He flattened the paper against the floor so he could see every word all at once. There were 7 this time. Beware. They're coming back to get you.